Hello everyone and welcome back to Navakokon Education Society's DBJ College Chipulun. Myself Mr. Arun Zadhav from Department of Environment Education and Water Security, and today we are going to talk about right to live, human rights and value education. This is the last part, the first topic, humans and environment. In our previous sessions we have already talked about population growth, rural and urban environmental issues, indigenous communities and traditions, and human health. And today we are going to discuss the last part, that is right to live, human rights and value education. Before going to discuss right to live, human rights and value education, let us start today's topic with environmental ethics. Now, environmental ethics is the part of philosophy which believes that humans are the part of environment along with other living organisms. Environmental ethics is the part of philosophy which believes that humans are the part of environment along with other living organisms. So, environmental ethics thinks about the rights of other living organisms too, including along with humans. So, humans are just the part of environment along with other living organisms. So, this is what environmental ethics is. All species on the earth have equal rights to use all the resources. All the species have equal rights to all the resources and also have rights to compete for equal opportunities and comfort. All the species have equal rights to all the resources and also have the right to compete for equal opportunities and comfort. The right of environment should take precedence over the right of individuals, because as individual is dependent on the environment, therefore rights of environment are more important than the rights of individual, and therefore rights of environment should take precedence over the right of individual. So this is all about environmental ethics. After this, let us talk about a right to live. So different types of pollutions in environment are deteriorating environment. So there is a continuous deterioration of environment due to different types of pollution, and due to this pollution and deterioration of environment, some species of living organisms have become endangered while some have become extinct. Now see, due to this pollution and deterioration of environment, many species are on the verge of extinction and many species have already become extinct, while many animals, many species are struggling for proper environment. As they are not getting proper environmental conditions for their survival, so they are continuously struggling for the proper environmental conditions. Now let us talk about these living organisms which are continuously struggling. Except humans, almost all the living organisms are struggling for their survival. Do they have any right to live on the earth? Do they have any right to live? Of course they have, because man is not the only harvester of nature. Man is not the only harvester of nature. He is just one of the millions of species of living organisms on the earth. And as man is, or humans are the one of the species of millions of species of living organisms on the earth, therefore we need to consider the existence of other living organisms too on the earth. And so all the species of plants, animals, microbes have equal right to live on the earth. All the species of living organisms, plants and animals have equal right to live and to cherish it for the whole lifespan. We must admit and realize that we cannot survive on the earth alone. It is hardly possible for humans to survive alone on the earth without other living organisms, because other living organisms are the supportive system for us. Other living organisms act as a supportive system because we get food from plants, we get fresh oxygen from plants, we get water from various water bodies like rivers, lakes, ponds. So as other living organisms provide us various services, various products, so they act as a supportive system, and therefore without them it is not possible for us to survive on the earth, and therefore other living organisms are supportive system for us, and therefore we need to maintain the diversity in our surrounding, because more the diversity, more will be the stability of environment, and therefore to maintain this environmental stability, environmental balance or ecological balance, we need to maintain diversity in our surrounding. We need to maintain biological diversity. We need to consider the rights of other living organisms. They are also having equal rights to use resources, to survive, to live on the earth. This is all about a right to live. In right to live, we have seen that along with humans, other living organisms are also having the equal rights to survive on the earth. Now, after talking about right to live, let us talk about human rights and environment. We often talk about human rights, but there is a relationship between human rights and environment too. Let us talk about this relation. Now, in the draft of 1994, United Nations has prepared a draft, and in the draft of 1994, United Nations has linked human rights and environment. So environment and human rights are linked, and this linkage is shown in the draft of 1994. This UN draft 1994 described to accept the rights of everyone to secure, healthy and ecologically sound environment. So this United Nations draft in 1994 tells us about the rights of everyone to secure, healthy and ecologically sound environment. This draft tells us about the rights of humans. What kind of rights humans are having related to environment? Let us talk about these rights. First right is humans' right to have pollution-free, healthy, safe and secure environment. Human rights to have pollution-free, healthy, safe and secure environment. It is one of the important rights to have pollution-free atmosphere, pollution-free environment. Second is human rights to enjoy natural ecosystem and biodiversity in equitable manner. All the humans, all the individuals of humans on the earth have equal right to use resources. So, rights to enjoy natural ecosystem and biodiversity in equitable manner. Third is right to live dignified life with legitimate needs. To live dignified life is also one of the important right. One more is a right to take environmental information, environmental education and to participate in discussions. This is also one of the important human rights regarding environment. A right to take environmental education. Everybody has got the right to take environmental education, environmental information. Everybody has the right to participate in environmental discussions, and everybody has the right to create awareness among these people about different environmental issues. Along with these rights, we should think about the rights of future generations. So one more right is rights of future generations to meet their own needs. Along with present generations, no doubt that the present generations are having right to use resources, but along with present generations, future generations are also having the right to use the resources which are available in our surrounding, which are available in the environment. So all these are the human rights. So this is all about human rights. Let us talk about the next point, that is value education. Very important part, value education. Now ancient India had developed values in human being by family and Gurukul education. So in ancient ages there was the system of Gurukul education, in which in Gurukul education system student had to go to the Guru's ashram to take education. So ancient India had developed the values in human being by family and Gurukul education system. Value education is the process of learning life principles which decides virtue of a person in the family and the society. So value education is the process of learning life principles which decides virtue of a person in family and the society. Character of person is developed, is decided by having values like environmental ethics, natural principles, truthfulness, honesty, peace, non-violence, integrity, righteousness, and respect to all natural laws. So, character of a person is developed by having values like environmental ethics, natural principles, truthfulness, honesty, peace, non-violence, integrity, righteousness, civic sense, and respect to all natural laws. So, to have a good character, we should have all these values with us. Now, Indian Constitution has also added some more values like sovereignty, secularism, socialism, democracy, republican character, equal justice, unity, integrity of nation, and dignity of all individuals. So, all these values are given by our Indian Constitution. So, to have a good character, we should have all these character with us. Value education in reference to environment. Value education is expected to bring sustainable lifestyle for everyone in the society. We should have sustainable lifestyle, and this is what value education in relation to environment tells us. We should have sustainable lifestyle in the environment. Environmental values need to be inculcated through the process of appreciating our environmental assets and act for their conservation. So, environmental values need to be inculcated through the process of appreciating our environmental assets and act for their conservation. So, we should try to conserve, we should try to identify environmental assets, and we need to act for their conservation. Now, economic growth is always at the center of discussion. Economic growth, we often talk about economic growth, and this word economic growth is always at the center of discussion. And why not? It should be at the center of discussion, because it brings in employment opportunities for thousands of people. But this economic growth should be based on the principle of sustainable development. This economic growth should be eco-friendly, and therefore it should be reliable on the concept of sustainable development. Everyone should have feelings and respect for different aspects of environment. So, we should have feelings and respect for nature. So, this is what value education tells us, to have the feelings and respect for different aspects of nature. Now, we should not value resources just because they are useful for us. We should think beyond the consumptive and productive values of these resources. True environmental values go beyond valuing a river for its water, forest for its timber, and sea for its fish. So, we should always think beyond the consumptive and productive values of the things that we have in our surrounding. Environmental values means to have the feelings to bring about sensitivity for preserving nature as a whole. Environmental values should have pro-conservation actions in a day-to-day activities. Environmental values should have pro-conservation actions in a day-to-day life. We should try to conserve nature in a day-to-day practice. At least we should try to avoid our activities that cause adverse effects on environment. So, in our day-to-day life, we need to try to protect the environment. At least we should try to avoid our activities which are dangerous to the environment. And to do this, we should follow some basic environmental principles in our day-to-day life to protect the environment, not to cause any harm to the nature. We should follow some basic environmental principles in our day-to-day life. Let us talk about these basic things, the basic principles. First is not to throw garbage on the roads, and should convince others also to do so. So, we should not throw garbage on roads, and we should convince other people also about this. To use water and other resources carefully. So these are the very simple things that we can do in our day-to-day life. To save energy and energy resources by putting off electrical equipments when they are not needed. It is also the easy thing that we can do. Shorter distance should be covered by walking or by using bicycle. Being a student, we should use notebooks carefully. We should make sure that all the pages in a book are properly used. So these are some of the things, some of the principles that we can follow to protect our environment. Now, we need to appreciate nature's mechanism in cleaning up of air and recycling of water. Environmental values are linked to varied environmental concerns. While we value resources that we use as a food, water and other products, there are also environmental services that we must appreciate. So along with the productive and consumptive values, we should appreciate the other services too, like the nature's mechanism in cleaning up of air and addition of oxygen by plants, recycling of water through water cycle, etc. So we should appreciate these processes also, these services also, which are provided by the nature free of cost. Aesthetic and ethical aspects are also equally important. Along with these services which are given, which are provided by the nature free of cost, aesthetic and ethical aspect should also be considered. These aspects are also equally important that we do not appreciate consciously. So we should appreciate aesthetic values, ethical values, productive and consumptive values of environment also. We should appreciate, generally we appreciate and admire the natural things that we see, that we experience in our surrounding. But along with this, we should appreciate and admire the natural things that we should appreciate and admire the things that we do not experience ourselves. So we appreciate and admire the natural things that we see in our surrounding, but with this we should also appreciate the things that we do not experience ourselves, like the lush evergreen forests, the great power of oceans, waves, tranquility of Himalaya, etc. So these things that we do not experience in our day-to-day life should also be considered, should also be appreciated, because though we do not experience them in our day-to-day life, they are equally essential, they are equally important for the environment, and therefore these things should also be appreciated by us in our day-to-day life. We should value its being there on the earth for us, which is called as existence value. So we should appreciate the existence values of all the resources that we have. Now we should preserve ancient structures. We should preserve our ancient structures. The characteristic architecture, sculptures, artwork and crafts of ancient culture are invaluable assets. Characteristic architecture, sculpture, artwork and crafts of ancient culture are invaluable environmental assets, and therefore they should be conserved. If we do not conserve them, then they will disappear and we will lose our heritage. So if you want to protect our heritage, then we need to conserve all these ancient structures. We must also learn to value and respect diverse human culture. Many of the tribal cultures of our country are vanishing due to the huge pressure on forest lands, and along with them the traditional knowledge will also be disappeared. We should use the resources in equitable manner, and we should think about the rights of other people, other living organisms too. I would like to end this session, today's session, with the famous quote of Mahatma Gandhi, that every earth has enough to meet everybody's need, but not for someone's greed. Thank you.